Hey guys, this is Everest from Everest RC, and today I'm going to show you how to, get your gear box meshed and put in a new motor and get that properly set up. Obviously, as you can tell, this is kind of a working project, kind of a car. So if you need any help, let me know. Give me suggestions on what you need. I have an ECX Tournament here, and we'll walk through the process real quick. First, you want to get your handy dandy stand, set it up right here. Make sure that you get it all set up nice and neat. Wheels are off the ground, they can roll freely. That's going to give you a lot of opportunities for clearance. And then you're going to want to grab one of these bad boys. You got your hex wrench, and you're going to use, basically what you're going to do is just take off the rear tire. So it shouldn't be too difficult, but if you do have difficulties, just keep working on it. One thing I've noticed is if you use either like a ratchet wrench, most of them are either 7mm, 8mm, so on and so forth. So currently the one I'm using, obviously you can tell that this has, you have to hold it because the differential will not hold it. See, now we're getting spin on the differential. So another tip that you can do is you can hold your axle. You can see where my thumb is pointed. You can hold the axle and you can just keep going and unscrewing it and it will pop off. It's amazing. So take off your tire. Make sure you don't lose that little plastic inner piece. Sometimes cars have a little plastic piece, so that way the nut doesn't rub directly against that tire. So there'll usually be a plastic piece in there. Like I said, this is a working project car, so I will try to find a replacement for that. But in the meantime, now that you have your car, now has everything taken off, you just have this little thing. I'm almost hesitant to take it out. I've never had to, so just leave it in there. Make sure it doesn't fall out. If you feel like it's gonna fall out, it's always okay to just pull it out and put it in your magnetic tray. And then when you need to put it back in, just remember to put it back in this little steel pin in order to keep it in place. But for right now, I'm just gonna leave it right there. Is grab, I think it's a 1.5mm, and you're gonna take out 1, 2, and 3. Just 3 little screws in order to get to that back little motor part. So you're gonna we're here. So you got the spur and the pinion gear. And so your next step that you want to do is you're going to take your screwdriver and you're going to unscrew these. Make sure that your screwdriver's bite is not too aggressive, nor is it too fat, because if it's too fat, it's not going to fit. If it's too narrow, it's not going to work. I always like using a ratchet screwdriver, and then I'll find, usually you can tell like how fat a screwdriver bit is by like kind of the, you can see by the bits here, you can see like, excuse me, you can see that this one's kind of a little bit fatter, a little bit tighter, aggressive, and then obviously like that's super aggressive, that's super fat. So obviously we want to go something in between. So this is a perfect opportunity to just pull out this screwdriver. Another great thing, get a screwdriver kit. Ratchet screwdrivers are my favorite. Not everyone likes them, and but they're great. So you can just slowly unscrew this, unscrewdriver this, and you'll notice that as you do that, you'll see that these kind of screws pop out. Put your hand underneath. You'll specifically see that the motor will drop if you have it like this. So put your hand underneath, so that way you can protect the motor you currently have, and so you don't lose it. So once you unscrew this, you'll get there, you'll feel it kind of wobble, and it should be relatively easy to pop out. Awesome, just like that. Now you have your motor and you're ready to put in a new motor. So what you need to do, first off, I'm gonna set this aside. And you're gonna see this motor. You're gonna see that it has a little screw there. That's just to hold it in place. And on all RC motors, there's a flat little part and a flat little bit. And what it does is it just holds in. So you're gonna take your 1.5 again, your 1.5 millimeter hex wrench, or I just like to call them Allen keys. And you're gonna unscrew it. You see how there's a little flat part compared to everything else. I don't know if that's portraying on there, but once you have that, now you have your pinion. So now you want to grab your new motor. Here's a hobby wing motor. Here's a castle motor. They all have the same kind of little flat part. You also need to keep in mind that this right here could be a totally different size than the pinion hole here. So sometimes they're 5 millimeters, sometimes they're 2.5, sometimes they're ridiculous numbers like 10 if you're doing like a massive car. But for the EXC Torments, most of the time you will be running like a normal, I think it's like a 2.5, but I'll put it on screen what a normal size is. But long story short, we're gonna run with this Hobby Wing ESC. It's not ESC, this motor. It's an easy run, 3300 kV. It's awesome motor. It's little, compact, and it's great for two-wheel drive cars. So you'll see right here, they had it oriented like this, and I always suggest following what they had it oriented like. So if they put the pinion in backwards like this, then always follow it like that. So now what you're gonna do is you're gonna take your 1.5 and you're gonna screw it back in slowly. Now you're gonna make your adjustments. You wanna make sure that you get it correctly on there. So you wanna get it just barely on the edge. I like to get it barely on the edge, but not too far. So, and I got my Allen key set from like these Allen keys. They came in a whole set. I don't know if I can show you without ripping off my whole thing. They came in a whole set for like 15, 16 bucks. It's probably one of the best investments I've ever made. So now that you've got that set on there, it's a good idea to add Loctite to it as well. I just don't have Loctite on hand, and I will be redoing this motor anyway. I just wanted to show you guys. So now we're gonna pull this back up here, and you're gonna make sure that you have your motor mounts. So obviously it's gonna be different for every motor, but your motor mounts here are all these little holes. And you wanna make sure that your motor mounts and your motor leads right here all kind of go out in the same direction that you want it to come out. So for me, I like to have my motor mounts and my motor mount and my leads come out like just right about there. So what you'll do is you'll look and you'll try to set it up perfectly. It's not always gonna set up the way you want it, but as soon as you got it in place, you can get your screwdriver out. If you have a ratchet screwdriver, make sure you flip it the other direction and start to slowly screw in on there, and make sure you hold on to the motor at all times at this point, because you don't want it to hold on just to one little you don't want it to just be holding on to one little screw and then all of a sudden it starts bending and it's not doing it. So right there, I'm in the other motor mount. So now you want to try to get to the other side and make sure that you don't like thread it wrong, because if you thread it wrong, it's a pain in the butt. There's a lot of issues when it comes with motors, so make sure that you're doing it good. And make sure that this is hand tight. You'll start to feel it tightening up. And you don't want it absolutely super tight. Obviously you can tell that it's not meshed right now, but we will get that fixed eventually. So we want to make sure that it's just tight enough that it's going to sit there. So now what you want to do is, now that you've got the motor completely in there, you're going to slowly back off on this bottom motor screw mount, or this bottom motor screw. What you're going to do is back off just a hair, just enough that this can roll freely around. Obviously there's a little bit there. So now that you have it backed off just a little bit, what you're going to do, you're going to slide it into position. And there's definitely different ways to do this. There's a paper method, there's a sound method. I always like the sound. I feel like that's a better indicator of gear health and integrity, as well as it gives you a better idea of like how it sounds and how it's feeling. So right there, do you hear that? I'll let you guys hear that. It sounds pretty nice, but obviously we're not gonna know until we plug in our ESC and start slowly running it up. And then if we hear like a really bad, loud, thick noise, then it's really bad. But if you hear like a high-pitched squeal, you'll hear the difference. It should sound smooth. It shouldn't sound like, you know, shouldn't sound like gears are grinding. You'll know the difference. And I'll try to give an example as soon as I can get this plugged in. So now that we have that all together, I'm actually gonna set this up with my handy dandy little box here. So I'm gonna grab my little box. So we have my little box right here. I'm gonna take this, put this over here, and put this over here, and set this bad boy up. So now I'm gonna grab a spare receiver that I have in my drawer through DSM. Perfect. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna take this. Obviously, when you're plugging in your motor and ESC, make sure that you have the correct colors going to the correct spots and vice versa. So obviously orange to orange, or, you know, make sure you look at your map on your ESC. So now we're gonna do this, gonna plug it all in. Now that we got everything together, you're gonna take this and you're gonna plug your ESC connector lead into your thrust and make sure that your ground wire is appropriately matched. So there will be a sensor, a positive and a negative. And what you'll do is you'll plug it in like that. Perfect. Now you're gonna wanna grab one of your batteries. I have one currently on hand right here. And I'm just gonna plug it in. And as soon as it plug in, oh, it should be correct. Maybe I'm doing this wrong. No, let's try this. Bam. Oh, it's just a little bit stiff. That means it's brand new. You're gonna turn on your ESC. Obviously, if your ESC has a fan, make sure that it's in a good spot. Also be wary, if you have a 4-wheel drive car, watch these motor leads so that way they don't get caught in here. But obviously you can hear the fan is running. It's really loud. I don't know. I'm gonna unplug the fan for half a second. Thank you, sorry. I'm not gonna be running enough power in it to have it freak out on me or do any serious damage. So now I'm gonna turn on my motor, or turn on my receiver. Obviously I don't know if it has input, but we're gonna slowly, oh, I got that flipped out. See, that's what I'm saying. Make sure that you put that somewhere safe. Don't do that. So obviously you can hear that, how that's kind of just smooth. It's not really loud, it's quiet, it's good. So I'd say I'm satisfied with that, and I wanted to make sure that, yeah, I just wanted to make sure. Perfect. Let me check the gearing. So we're great. So now that we know that it's awesome, I'm gonna turn off the ESC, turn off my receiver, save my batteries, put it back up here, and then I'm gonna unplug my battery. And then we're gonna put this thing back together and we're in a good spot. So okay, one note, you gotta pull up on the axle to get it to show the little steel pin slot holder. Okay. And make sure that you line these up. Roll around, now it's clicked in, we're good to go. Now we're gonna take this and we're gonna just screw it back on. If we can get it back on there. And you're pretty much good to go.